please see the link in this episode's description for a trailer for an element of pugilism. And there is a Z-Fest like contest going on, so do with that as you will. I'm a libertarian. I want you to choose what you want to choose.
No, I mean, don't you want people to like us? That's the whole point of it.
I want people to like us for us, not because they feel like...
Because we told them to?
Yeah, we're informing them,
sure.
And then they can make their own decision.
Well, please click the link and click like.
Thank you.
You're listening to this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. It would greatly benefit the show. Yeah, look at that. I could do things one-handed.
Oh.
Ooh,
damn.
Maybe a little too well one-handed. It's probably not a good thing, right?
Okja looks like a penis.
Alright. Hello and welcome back to Movie Vaders with the Farx brothers. I'm Kirk. Yeah, laughter the
And
whole
I'm
thing.
someone who thinks that the train in Snowpiercer is a penis.
God damn it.
We're here with Gael Palen, actress, and we're going to be talking about Okja and Snowpiercer. Spoilers.
Which movie do you like better?
Oh, why would you do that to me? It's hard.
It's a bait show, and I want to come up with self-baits are one of the funniest things to have people go through.
Listen, I'm hard to like bait though, because I'm always like, listen, there's points to both sides. I can't choose. I'm terrible with decisions. I have ADHD.
Life is nuanced. You're the the third or fourth guest to cop to their
ADHD diagnosis?
spiciness.
Oh, yes.
Isn't
That's
that
new.
Isn't
Neurospicy.
isn't that the term?
It's a goofy ass term.
I have my this will probably come out after I've had my newest ADHD assessment. I had one 15 years ago. But then if you don't like request that keeps getting transferred when you move to new health clinics, and you're like, oh, I'm not taking drugs for this, so you just got to go do it again.
Really?
Because then at work you can say, oh, I'm special. You give me, I filled out so many applications in this capitalist system of ours that ask, hey, do you have, it's a list of things, and it's like ADHD is one of them, and it's like, I don't think like you can function with ADHD, whereas this other one on the list, I think that would be more of an impediment to, if my arm was amputated, that would be, that relates to, see, I brought it back to Snowpiercer.
Wow.
There we go.
You didn't think I could do it. I could.
Yeah, I didn't believe
Full
you at
circle.
all. Yeah.
I know how to manage my ADHD. If I am so deemed to still have it after 16 years.
You can't get rid of ADHD, can you?
You grow out of it.
No, I don't think that's how
what they
it
used to
works.
think.
Not how it works.
I like Snowpiercer better because I like sci-fi with a lot. I like the kick punching more in Snowpiercer.
Oh, I respect that. More action based.
Yeah, why not? And I think Captain America made better movies when he was Captain America. I mean, there's a new Captain America now, but he still makes good movies, Anthony Mackie, whereas Chris Evans has not made a good movie since he gave up being Captain America.
Damn.
He got to make Snowpiercer, I think, because he had been Captain America in...
Really?
Well, like...
I didn't realize that's how he landed it.
Well, I don't think that's how he landed it. It's more like you can go off and make a movie with an unknown Korean director making his first English language movie if you're the guy that was just in Avengers the year before.
That makes sense.
Versus making an Apple movie with Ana de Armas that... Did you watch? You said you watched it last night when we were talking about this?
Not last night. I saw it. It ghosted, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't say you saw it last night, but we were talking about it last night.
I saw it. I thought it was cutesy.
I see my brother every day.
Well,
Isn't
we tried
that
to.
cutesy?
Wow. Yeah, just brag about our relationship. Yeah.
Does Snowpiercer argue that humanity is doomed to repeat its mistakes, even in extreme circumstances?
I think in a sense, yeah, it does. Just because it kind of mirrors the polarity of like how humanity progressed a little bit in general, just with the huge divisiveness between the back of the train with the very poor and then the front of the train with the very rich. It's like we've seen that throughout society. It's like this huge divisiveness, and so it is literally history repeating itself just in different environments. That's what I'd say.
Kirkland?
Oof, it's easy.
that in.
I'm gonna have to cut that out. Yeah.
No, keep that in.
Yeah, the little White Claw burpees.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there were other revolts. The 7, and then what do you call it? Mix something. revolution. Like at the very end, Wilford mentions a few revolutions.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that's happened before. Yeah.
You know, in reflecting on this movie, thinking about The Matrix, I feel I'm less inclined to like Snowpiercer because of the way it reminds me of The Matrix. Like, you know how when he gets to the end and it's like, well, this has happened 6 times before.
Yeah.
And, you know, or this is the 6th time this is happening. Do you think humanity has had a cataclysmic event in the past? And then we've like lost all of our technology and such, and then like were the pyramids built by an advanced society?
Probably. Yeah.
Now we're jumping into conspiracies.
No, maybe the you know people of Egypt were able to move those stones and cut them using technology of thousands of years ago. I don't know.
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
And so do dystopian movies help us from that? Polar bear is going to eat the people at the end of the movie. I'm sorry, but they didn't show it to us.
Polar bears are fucking scary. Like they eat anything.
And they hunt.
Yeah.
Like most bears will only attack you if you're like, what do you call it?
Not polar bears.
Yeah, they will hunt. They hunt humans, and that's why like you can't.
One of the only species too, right?
They're of bear. Yes, I mean like lions would hunt you in the.
Or yeah, I feel like there's a name like it's not the apex predators. It's like they call them something like if they go after humans like as food and they see us as food. Like there's a certain word for that, but I can't think of it because I'm dumb.
No, you're not dumb. This is what the kind of thing I would use AI for. Is I'd ask, what do you call the type of? Watch, I'll do this. I'm going to destroy the earth right now.
How dumb AI is sometimes when you ask it, it gives you the wrong answer. You should Google.
What do you call an animal that hunts and eats humans? It had the word Hansen instead of humans.
How did that happen? Told you it was kind of dumb.
That's the talk to text. That's different than.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. In real time, an animal that hunts and eats
What's it called?
It's the same. It's the same term for a woman that goes through men. A man eater.
Oh my god.
She's a man eater.
Wow.
Gael, you like to sing. that's why that came up. No, I think you're right that there is a term, certain type of predator term, but
yeah,
we're not going to remember it now.
No, it's not going to enter my brain for a while, and then it will, and then I'll be mad.
Does Wilford's authoritarian control of the train represent a necessary evil for survival, or is it an abuse of power? Like, do humans need to be, do they need some sort of structure and some form of authoritarianism?
Definitely abuse of power, I'd say. Because they've been doing it for so long. 17 years, right, essentially?
I would have to agree with that. I think there's something to be said about humans needing structure, but to the degree, like, of just complete polarization of humans and individuals, like, that's just not, that's too much.
Do you speed through school zones?
What? What does that have to do with anything?
Because the speed limit is something that is placed upon you by, a government that will resort to violence if the cop will chase you down if you speed and then avoid.
Well, here's the thing. I slow down in school zones because I see children and I don't want to hit them. I don't do it because they tell me to. I do it because it's the right thing to do.
So I think that gets to the more to the debate of, do we just have to get rid of the people who don't have the inclination to do that? And if so, how do we identify those people?
That's what I said. Absolution. Yeah, get rid of the people who do the wrong things. We only
Kirk said take them out.
Yeah, get rid of them. We don't need that anymore. Especially where we are. I mean, a lot of people voted for the wrong person. I mean, I'm telling you.
I don't think people could vote for the wrong people as much as they are given 2 options that are bad.
Well,
one
that's
is
also
better
fair.
than the other.
And that's why I say the 2-party system has to go.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't have a debate to that, and I've run a third-party candidate for Secretary of State of Minnesota, so I really shouldn't say anything in opposition to that. Kirk, do you want to defend the 2-party system?
No, I mean, no, of course not.
Of course not.
We can have 4 different meat processors in the United States, but only 2 parties to choose from.
Exactly.
And both of them take money from all 4 meat processing companies.
Exactly.
And that's why we live in a corporate oligarchy, and that's why, damn it, now am I changing my mind to like Okja better?
Maybe.
The penis hippo that does it for me.
Gets you going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Okja is a lot more depressing. It doesn't really have a happy ending. In Snowpiercer, you kind of, it's almost like a reset.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. These people have to start new. You finally get out of the train with the penis, as Kyle calls it. Yeah. You get out of the, wow, it is like a penis because it's like the sperm.
Goes in the hole.
No, the sperm starting a new life. Yeah, go on, right?
Yeah.
You know what? Go off, King. I love that.
Go off. He watched a stand-up special yesterday called Life that was specifically about a guy's issues getting his wife pregnant. So, and I know he watched this because I showed it to him while we were driving to karaoke. That'll come up in the.
Wait a minute, you guys go karaoke too?
Yeah, we do
have, yeah.
Tuesdays.
Well, what the heck?
And
I
Send you
think,
an invite, yeah.
yeah.
See, this is the tease for the episode that will come, the segment that will come after this, which is your interview section where we'll talk about it. See,
there we go.
You remember that thing we did first? That comes. People,
No,
this is
I
released.
don't remember we did a thing first. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
Like, you don't have to play.
Just kidding.
But I appreciate it. It helps.
Is the rigid hierarchy that we see a reflection of natural order or artificial social engineering? So Gael says she doesn't, she slows down naturally because she sees children and wouldn't want to hurt them. But how did you learn that? Was it engineered into you socially, or do you naturally have that in you?
I mean, I naturally don't want to kill people, I would say. I don't think anyone is born with the instinct to kill. I would say that.
I don't know. I think some people probably are. Because it's like there's some number of I think it's.
I guess it that's a good point too. Because if you're living in like a society that is a life or death situation, then you would.
Yeah.
So maybe it is a societal thing.
This is a Jordan Peterson argument, and I know we're supposed to hate him or whatever, but he brought up something that was like, I heard him talking about there's some number of sociopaths in society where like if it's 5%, that's too many sociopaths out there who are running corporations. Maybe. But if there's not enough sociopath, like 1%, then no one believes they're sociopaths. So the sociopath can really, that kind of goes to one of Bong Joon-ho's other movie, Mysteries of a Murder, I think it is, where they detail in the 80s the first Korean serial killer. I do not know if it's a true story. Have you seen this one?
I have not. I'm gonna have to put that on the list.
True story.
Okay, thank you.
Wow.
And you know what? I'm just going to go off on South Korea. I put this in the rundown. Do you know South Korea has you see children, you don't want to hit them. I see children, I think, good. That's God's promise. He wants the human race to continue. In about 90 years, the population of South Korea will be down to like 9% if they keep, if their birth rate stays the same. And I think it's like 0.7 or something like that. Because you need basically replacement rate is like 2+. So because it takes 2 people to make a person. So if every one person who can have peoples has 2 of them, if every birthing person has 2 people, that's replacement rate. This is where I bring up that my kids have gone to bed now from the last segment. My wife has turned me against dystopian things, mainly because she doesn't like to watch them. And so I have to watch them by myself or with my brother. And I wonder if his his movies, I feel, have a lot of negativity. Important social criticism, maybe. But that's what we're here to debate.
I mean, it's still hard to watch, like you're watching that and it's heavy shit. Like, it's a lot for the human mind to eat sometimes, just because some people are definitely more sensitive to seeing that kind of thing. I know my mom is for sure. She's seen all of that. Okay, truth be told, she's seen more. She saw her father attempt to get assassinated for standing up for people in Guatemala. Yikes. So she's seen that in real life. So why would she want to watch it on TV,
Right, yeah.
So it's like things like that. People have their preferences, and that's totally cool.
And I think there's a separation that people could usually have. It's a movie.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen. But we should still take lessons from them. We should still look at it like it is the dystopian is the rock bottom that humanity hits, and then we should learn from that and take it in. I don't think people are going to do that much.
The parallel I'm trying to draw here is that because he's coming from a society or a country whose citizenry is dying out because they're not replacing each other, I think that gives him a negative outlook on the world. And that's why his movies are so negative. They're either like really violent, like Mysteries of a Murder. I haven't seen Mother. I understand that it's somewhat violent. They're either like violent and realistic or somewhat dark comedy. Like Okja is mostly a dark comedy, but also has, the dystopian societal critique.
Yeah.
Wait, what was your question?
It wasn't a question, it was more of an observation that I wanted to bring the thing up about
His inspiration for making these movies because they're so negative?
it's because South Korea is dying out.
No, I wouldn't say that because I feel like he's been making movies way before South Korea started lowering their birth rates, right? Because
I think the birth rate has been suppressed for about a couple of decades, and it's gone down more over the past couple of decades. I believe it went from like over 1 to now being below around 0.7 or something like that.
I mean, also to draw a parallel, like birth rate is dropping in this country too. Like people are just not wanting to have kids, but also because they can't afford having kids.
Yeah.
So it's like in a whole.
See, and that goes to the anti-capitalism thing from the last segment of if capitalism is producing the result. I've had I'm in white collar corporate sales, and I've had sales, I'm putting quotes around this, leaders say things like, all we care about is outcomes. Well, if our version of capitalism is leading to this outcome, what does that tell you? Do you know the only Western society that has and I don't want to like get into a conversation unless everyone really wants to, the only Western like modern society as we think of it that's got a birth replacement rate is Israel. They're the only ones that.
Interesting.
And I'm not anti-Semitic. I think all modern societies, and even those that are still modernizing, should allow themselves to have replacement rate or whatever the correct term is for people having kids and being able to raise them in a healthy way. Like the generation that came before us, because we're below 2 in the United States. I think we're around like 1.7 or so. I was looking this up because of the South Korea thing, and if I was going to dunk on South Korea, I wanted to look this up for some other places. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that Israel is the only place, the only like Western democracy style country that has replacement rate.
How do they implement that? Like forced marriages, forced?
No, they don't. No. I think it's more like if. The argument I've heard, the theory I've heard that people would put around is Israel's surrounded by a bunch of, countries of a different religion that want to kill them, and they, have responded in the ways that they have. So possibly the threat of death causes you to embrace life more. That's why I'm okay bringing up every, series of episodes that we're all going to die someday. And,
Thanks for the reminder again.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And to tease the interview section even more, I think we touch on that in a healthy way. Thank you, Gael.
Yeah, I think so.
Is revolution the only way to address systemic inequality, or can reform work in a closed system?
I'm gonna say no.
So revolution?
Yeah, revolution. I think that's what it's gonna take, because I don't think the rich, they're never gonna have enough. They're not gonna stop doing what they're doing. It's gonna take opposition to, I don't know, it's to grow up or level up to go against that. Somebody has to take them down. The rich are not gonna take themselves down, right?
Movie baiters with the Farx brothers. Eat the rich. Kirk Farx. Do you think that, because you made the argument previously that you think it takes steps to turn things around?
I think it does, and I think there is room for revolution in that. Because I think a lot of the times those in power won't listen until you do, make a big spectacle out of things. And they have to realize that, that happened because of this. Now we have to stop that from happening. And that's the only way sometimes you can get to people like that are really in power, is by revolution and organized people coming together.
You brought up an interesting example. I'm trying to not use the word interesting in my life anymore.
What? Okay.
We're going to leave that alone for now. I'm trying to, make my lexicon very precise, like how Bong Joon-ho makes movies, because he has an editor on set. What was the thing that your grandfather on your mother's side was standing up for when he was almost assassinated, thankfully not assassinated?
Yeah, so my grandpa, he used to be involved in the political economy in Guatemala, especially during the kind of civil war down there, which happened between, I want to say, the 70s and 80s.
Oh, back when the CIA was screwing up that country? So
Yep.
Yeah,
straight up. So that's my grandpa was standing up for the indigenous people and the poor people in Guatemala, and the government did not like that. And so they sent people to try and kill him. And he fled. He was just arriving home. And so the family heard the gunshots, saw everything, saw his car turn away and speed off, because he wanted to lure those people away from his family, obviously. Right. He hid with a shopkeeper that he knew. She covered him with a blanket and sat on top of him they came in, they were like, where is Eliezer y Cifuentes? And she was like, nah, I haven't seen him. But eventually, he was sent to live in exile. So he registered all of the family as refugees. And so they moved to Costa Rica, and that's where they still are to this day. I think he could probably go back now if he wanted to, but it's still kind of a precarious situation because he, like my grandpa specifically, was exiled, not the family, because he was able to register them as refugees, which my mom actually didn't know until fairly recently, I think. But that's why they had the opportunity to still study in Costa Rica and like go to different places and do these different things, because they wouldn't have had that had they also been on the exile list. It was a really awful situation. My mom was 15 at the time.
Damn.
And it's not the only gun violence she's seen either, but she remembers, like, she detailed a story to me. I think she was maybe 9 or 10 at the time, where she was washing blood out of one of her uncle's shirts from also a bullet. And she just distinctly remembers that scent of the coppery tang, and just seeing all of that. And that's like traumatizing for a child of any age. But my grandpa said something to me after watching my film about my brother, and he goes, I would be honored and I would so trust you to tell my story. And that has stuck with me. And so I've been really wanting to interview my grandpa about what happened and get more details and understand more and make that into a film. I think that would be really incredible. But so that's on my to-do list, and I would really love to. What's that?
Do you know what the legal term chain of title means? Okay, so chain of title is if let's say you want to make a movie or TV series, they might ask, do you have chain of title? I'm going to relate this to your interviewing him. If you had a piece of media like a published article, or if you were to say record the interview and then release it put it on YouTube at your YouTube page, that counts as a piece of media that you own. You could then base chain of title of a script on. You could say, this script is based on this interview that it already has been published, here, and, brings attention to both things. So I would strongly recommend, from the perspective of capturing that as soon as possible, and then, because we've already talked about life and how it works. And then publish it, in whatever format you feel most comfortable with, and then you have chain of title to write a series on, or whatever, a movie or a series, whatever you want. That's the most effective thing I've ever learned from going to film festivals is get chain of title.
That is amazing to know, actually. Yeah, holy cow.
I mean, look it up to make sure,
right.
Don't just believe some guy on a podcast, but Kirk, thoughts?
No, I think that was great.
My mother-in-law fled Colombia in the 50s when she was 9.
Wow.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure she had a difficult time going through that at 9 years old.
It sounds so. Well, not to dunk on my mother-in-law.
Okay.
But I'm going to.
Let's make sure she doesn't listen to this. Yeah.
No. We're talking about Bong Joon-ho and class systems. She went from having help in her house, like servants, I would call it, to living in Louisiana where they did not have,
wow,
servants, because it probably cost a lot of money to get out of Colombia. My wife's grandfather on her mother's side was definitely a pilot, I believe an engineer as well. So it's a familiar story, and it's kind of like, because Guatemala is north of Colombia, right? So it's in Central America.
It's just past Mexico, so it's a little closer to here. Yeah.
So basically, the CIA was like, okay, we're going to start in South America and work our way up closer to the United States. And Kirk's going to be mad at me, but the response to the State of the Union from the opposition party last night was by a former CIA officer. Who she's out loud and proud about that. She's from my home state of Michigan, so I like that about her. Not so much I've lived all over the world and seen democracies flicker out. And some of the journalists were like, wait a second, if you were in the CIA living in another country and the democracy just flickered out, who do you think, who should we ask first about why that happened?
Yep.
That's rough.
So hey, I'm a proud American, but that's why I said libertarian dove in the previous segment. I don't want to be, I'm an anti-interventionalist for that very reason, because it causes these, hey, they should be able to run their own capitalist system in their country and maybe improve it, improve the the efforts
their
of
own system without anyone else intervening.
and then we could take from that, like, because the concept of the United States is that we're a federalist system. So every state gets to run itself however we want. It's a laboratory for democracy. So if Alabama, we'll just use Alabama, for some reason, thinks of
I don't know why.
if they think of a better way to like run their elections or their governmental system, well, then the other states can adopt that system if they want to. And I would apply that broadly to the country of, I like federalism, the concept of federalism for that reason. Leave people alone, let them develop their own systems, take what works for you, leave what doesn't.
Yeah, but I guess it goes back to that whole argument with Snowpiercer and Okja. Do we wait for them to change themselves, or do we have to step in? I feel like America as a whole steps in maybe a little too much.
100%.
But who else is going to step in is the other question. Like,
Oh, yeah, the world police argument.
Yeah.
Versus the, well, if we do nothing, what will happen? And then, will democracies flicker out? A constitutional republic is not built to be an empire, would be my response to that.
It's not.
I mean, we have the ICJ too, that's a bunch of different places coming together to like agree upon certain rules and things to follow.
Yeah, and remember when they arrested Netanyahu when he was the first international leader to come to this country? Oh, wait, that's right. Even though one of their lawyers is married to George Clooney, she didn't go and make a citizen's arrest of Netanyahu because if he goes to certain countries, he will be arrested.
As he should. He is committing a genocide.
I don't know if I would give more power to the ICJ, but I think it's International Criminal Justice. Is that what it stands for?
I believe so.
Okay, and I think that's what Amal Clooney works for. Am I right? I don't want to.
I don't know.
I think you might be right.
No, I think she prosecuted the case against Netanyahu.
Yeah.
That determined, he's guilty of the word you use, genocide. Sorry, but we're recording this on March 5th, 2025. There was a tweet that I think sums it up. In the world where we're allowed to say retard, you can't criticize Israel now. You can say retard, but you can't criticize Israel. It's a joke, obviously.
Oh, sure.
Because, one side says, hey, we're the free speech side. But if you say what's going on over in the Middle East is genocide, that's not okay, and you could get kicked off of your college campus. I have my college degree, so I'm not as worried about that.
I feel like people who are standing up for Palestine are more in like being kicked out willingly.
I'm 100% agreeing with you that yes, if you are
oh, I see. Oh, you're saying like if people are critical, they're like
people who are you can say retard now, but you're not allowed to be critical of Israel.
Right.
So, okay, that's if anything, that kind of retards the advancement of the free and open society we seek for.
Who is saying you can say the R slur though? Because I don't like it personally.
I'm really sorry that I said it a bunch of times.
Okay,
I wasn't
appreciate
calling
it.
any of you or any specific person. I'm trying to use it as a verb. How about that?
Okay, that's better.
In physics, it's to slow something down. Well,
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the, what is it, the Italian word for it that's used in music, the retardando or something like that. It is.
Retardando.
So I don't think that's right, but it's something along those lines, but it just means to soften your voice when you're singing.
Oh. When you said aria in your interview.
Music.
Oh, sorry?
Or, sorry, I was just adding to soften like the music or the sound of it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that makes sense. And that's probably where the word comes from, is some Latin, and Italian's Latin.
Roots in different areas, yeah.
Bong Joon-ho would be proud of this.
Yeah. I mean, there's debate about his movies. Yeah, I think so.
Which revolution is more effective? The one in Snowpiercer or the one in Okja? Or I guess the individual action of Okja with some people see them as terrorists, some people see them as freedom fighters. I just see them as Paul Dano and the gang.
Yeah.
True. Oh my God. Yeah. Sorry, I just totally forgotten that he was in that.
And Steve Yuen, Academy
I love
Award.
him. Oh my gosh, I love him.
Is it because of The Walking Dead? Or did you know him before that, or from something else?
It's from everything he does. He's great. I've seen a couple, like I'm watching Invincible right now, which he's voicing. And so that's really fantastic. But he's just great in everything he does. He's got a range too.
I gotta be honest, I was surprised when you suggested these movies initially when we invited you on. Yeah, they seem kind of violent and out there, but but then I had heard in another interview that you're clearly following some of these like You watch The Boys, and you watch Invincible. So you like and are cool with violence.
Oh, yeah.
What's that about?
Great question. Well, you cast me in my first fighting film, man, and you're asking about me violence?
You started the whole thing. Yeah.
You started this. I'm just kidding.
You watched violent movies before I worked with you in 2021, I believe. Is that correct?
This is true.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think I've always been into like action stuff in general. Just like watching it, I think I don't know, maybe again, it ropes into that whole ADHD thing and needing my attention caught on to like all the fast and all the punching and all the things. Like it keeps me in the moment, and I'm like waiting, and I'm like, what's next? So it keeps my attention is one thing. And then another thing is I started boxing in high school, and I've always loved that too. So that's another way. It's a great way to relieve stress. So maybe watching it also relieves stress. I don't know.
Like being able to see people fight against something that's wrong. I think that gives you...
and it, oh, that's a great point too.
Yeah.
Because if you see people fighting for something they believe in, it does give you some hope.
Yeah.
It does spread like a message that there are people out there that are willing to fight in what they believe.
You started the non-spoiler section by talking about how the gray area is probably the more realistic thing, but where we end up talking about is the very white or the very black of, is it this action or that action? It's either extreme revolution or minor change. And I think that feeds into action. Is like, action's decisive. It's, hey, we're kicking that guy. He's a bad guy. You gotta kick that guy.
In a sense. Like, I don't know if I would go to that extreme, because I think, for me, I think there's gray in everything. Like, even if I'm set in my own ways, I'm willing to listen to someone else and what they have to say. And I'm also willing to acknowledge that they have great points about their cause too, and about whatever it is that they're arguing for. And so like, I'm the kind of person who is open to hearing all sides of everything. Like, I want to know, like, if I don't agree with someone, I want to know why. I want to bridge that gap. I want to talk with them. I want to sit down and hear what they have to say, And that's kind of my philosophy in general too. And sometimes I can get too caught up in my own head about my ways. And then I have to check myself and be like, okay, now I'm thinking like I don't want to think. Now I'm thinking more in black and white, when that's like, there's so much gray to consider too. And so I do have to check myself about that at some points, but I really try to listen to all sides and just take it all in, even if I don't agree with it. I can hear it and try to understand where someone might think that makes sense to them, kind of a thing. It's always been how I've responded to things. I've always been like, oh my God, when I was little, I used to sit my parents down if they were fighting and be like, okay, Mom, why are you mad at Dad? Dad, why are you mad? Mom, okay, talk. I literally did that when I was a kid. And so, like anywhere between like maybe, I would say 8 to 10, give or take.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I learned that from school, because I went to a very, very small Quaker school called the Friends School of Minnesota.
Wait, wasn't that performance? That was performance
That was high school. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, K through 8, I was at a very tiny Quaker school, like 160 some people total in K through 8. So it was tiny, everyone knew everyone, and they really believed in conflict resolution. And so that was something that was really drilled into me as a kid. Like, if you have a conflict with someone, talk it out. Try to fix it. Try to find that middle ground, find that gray, And so I think I took that with me growing up and have just expanded on that since, in like a more widespread view, rather than like, you stole my toy I was playing with, give it back, So now it's applying those things that I learned as a child to bigger situations I face in adulthood.
I never would have expected went to Quaker school to come out of it.
Yep, surprise.
Did they do that thing where, like, did you guys do the thing where you sit in like a room silently, because they don't do the church?
We did.
And then you speak if you are so moved by the Spirit to speak?
Yeah,
wow.
it was called Meeting for Worship for us, and we would do it every Wednesday morning. The whole school would gather in the gym or wherever was big enough for everyone. And we would sit in silence for an hour, and there would be a query, which was like the prompt. And so they would say like, if you feel so compelled to share, like speak about blah, blah, blah. And they would give you the query or whatever it was. And so you'd have all these kids like stand up and say a little story if they wanted to, or a little whatever they felt moved to share. And I hated it at the time because I couldn't sit still, and I was very fidgety. I was like, okay, when is it time to get up? But like looking back on it, I think it was a really cool thing to offer as a school, just because it was really community building. Like you'd have everyone there, and you'd hear kids from all ages sharing their thoughts about this query. So it really solidified that the value of community is one of the principles in Quaker values, which are the SPICE principles: simplicity, peace, integrity, community, and equality. Also drilled into my head.
Maybe the Quakers are the answers to our problem.
To be honest, I would not be surprised.
It's like in South Park when they said the Mormons are the only ones that get into heaven.
Wow.
Sorry,
I haven't seen that one, I guess.
Oh, we'll watch it sometime. Don't worry. I had a friend from my boxing gym that was an officiant in my wedding, so this will really narrow down who it is, who went to a Quaker church to, now I'm not going to say to date two different Quaker women, but he definitely did date two different Quaker. Wait, what you laughing? What? They don't wear the buns and stuff, do they?
I know. We didn't when I went to the school. I guess that's my only experience with like Quaker values. And obviously you don't have to be Quaker to go to the school. It was just the values that they believed in. But I don't really know a lot about the religion itself, just the values that the school had, really.
I have somewhat negative feelings towards Mormons for a variety of reasons, but I don't have negative feelings towards Quakers, and I understand that I need to work on both things inside my own heart with Christ. And
Wow. Thank you for being so open, Gal.
Yeah, I'm a poet and I didn't even know it, Kirk.
There you go. See? Full circle.
Do we have any hard thoughts we want to get in before the end? Oh, you got some bait points.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, as much as we don't want to operate on a black and white, we want to stay in gray, I just find that the problem is that, like, big corporations, they kind of operate black and white. They are extreme. They want more money. They're going to take it this way. They're going to, like in Okja, they're going to be smart about marketing. They're going to hide these things. So I don't know if the correct response is to look in the middle. We have to attack, and, go extreme the other way. We got to blow up these buildings. We got to attack the CEO. We got to do these horrible things back at them.
Okay, Luigi Mangione. Come on, what the fuck?
I can appreciate that for sure, because and that goes back to what we were talking about too, about the big scale things to get the attention of these people who make the changes too, because sometimes I think sometimes the gray is that also morally gray decision you have to make sometimes, right? So it's like, I have to do something is morally ambiguous, like morally gray, but for the greater good.
Right, so that's an ends justify the means argument.
Yeah. Also
I disagree with that. The process matters. How you get there matters.
Tell me why.
Because how a man does anything is how he does everything. I'm not saying it only applies to men. It's just a phrase I heard that I liked. Is that the true champions at the gym, how they lace up their shoes, how they practice, all these things lead to making a champion. And if we want to be a champion of moral value or whatever, a greater society, whatever we're trying to get to, I think the goal would be for a capitalist system to work in a moral way, but a company is not moral. It has only a fiduciary responsibility to its owners or shareholders.
Yeah, but there are people in it. It should have morals, shouldn't it? I mean,
the people
why
have
not?
morals. It's kind of like I got in an argument once with a guy who was saying, well, this is a Christian company. I said, companies can't be Christian. Like, it may have been recently decided by the Supreme Court, because it had been, that companies have a right to speech, which I disagree with.
Yeah.
But, Citizens United has been decided, and until it gets undecided, apparently we can do that, because, you ever hear of Roe v. Wade? So, hey, Ruth Bader Ginsburg said that wasn't decided correctly, and that she would have done it differently so that it held better. And, then refused to get off the court when she was asked and died under Trump. So, sorry, I can't help myself.
It's all good.
I'm apologizing to him. I didn't think you were upset by what I said. He doesn't like when I bring up history. I see myself as
not
talking
history.
politics.
Politics, yeah.
But this is the Bong Joon-ho movies.
It's a political movie.
Yes, there are such political movies, and all movies are propaganda trying to get us to feel one direction or another.
Yeah, but for these movies, I think they have a specific side they want you to be on.
What's the side?
The right side, like the right side of history.
What's the right side?
We shouldn't, I don't have this imbalance of rich versus poor.
There's always been that imbalance.
I know, but that's the argument here. We probably should be more involved in that. We should be doing more so that we don't do this again, because we're doing it again on a train.
Yeah, there's no money on the train, right? They've gotten past
but they
currency.
say it out that way, though. There is money.
Is it inevitable that humans will, go to a pecking order? We haven't talked about the Pareto principle. Are you familiar?
No.
Have you heard of the Pareto principle?
I don't believe so.
80% comes from 20%. They talk about this a lot in sales. It's like, 20% of your accounts are where you're going to close 80% of your business. But this principle applies to other things. Like, go back to the school board example. 20% of the people on the school board hold 80% of the power. It's just inevitable in Congress, there's 435 of them. Oh, God, I get that number wrong. Of that, probably 80 of them hold the most power, because there's somebody who's the leader of the party who's in the majority, and the majority leader has more power, because that's who they are, versus the person who got elected from your district. So I'm just saying it's inevitable. The argument is that imbalance is inevitable, and trying to balance the scales, Thanos, doesn't work.
Perfectly balanced as all things should be. I mean, Thanos wasn't wrong. Yeah, he wasn't. He wasn't wrong.
Jesus Christ.
It's a ways. There's balance there. Captain America saw more whales in that New York thing, whatever he saw those whales.
You're like the person who graffitied in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Thanos was right.
In the bathroom?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Sorry, we are both big Marvel guys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can tell by looking at you.
I'm big into Marvel, too.
Oh,
Not
yeah?
so much anymore. I used to be really big into it, but definitely dwindled down for me.
Are you going to see
personally.
Mickey 17?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is a movie you're like looking forward to seeing, and you're going to actually see it in the theater?
Definitely, which is rare for me, because I'm not huge on watching movies, which is weird. I kind of should be, but I'm actually really excited for that one.
It's not a trend I haven't seen. Like Alex Rumsey, when she was on the show, said, I don't watch a lot of movies. So like,
Really? I'm glad I'm not alone in that. Love Alex, by the way.
Oh, yeah. You guys are in that same, like, you have commercial appeal and then also do the interesting, narrative stuff. So, because you work in commercials too, right?
Yeah.
I didn't ask in your interview part.
Yes.
Which is coming up next for the audience.
Yeah, what do you mean? We haven't done an interview part yet, Kyle.
The audience knows how we make the show.
I know. I'm just giving you crap.
Should we just end on talking about Parasite and who's the real Parasite? Have you seen Parasite?
I actually haven't, but I do want to watch that too.
What? We had you on this show and you haven't seen...
I know.
Okay, someday...
It wasn't part of the homework.
For shame.
Yeah.
That's true. It wasn't the assignment. You didn't give it to me as an assignment.
Oh, man. Maybe that's what we'll have your partner on for, is just talk about Parasite. So we
I
know
feel like he'd like that, actually.
we need a class expert in South Korean to check
Class expert?
Well, yeah, because Parasite is... All of Bong Joon-ho's movies are about class.
Yeah.
But that one specifically is about a bifurcation of class in a specific way. And, like, who's the parasite? The poor people or the rich people? The rich people are the parasite. The answer is the rich people are the parasites.
Absolutely, but it's still an
away.
interesting question.
Oh, but all of these people out here just making babies and sucking on the resources, welfare... I can't really make the Reagan argument.
No, was that a Trump impression? Were you trying to make a Trump impression?
Oh,
Wait,
was I
sound
trying to
like
do my
Elon.
Trump? Wait. Let me do Trump as Reagan. Okay. All these welfare queens out here sucking up all the resources, not paying as much. Wait, I can do Trump as Mitt Romney. 47% of them won't pay taxes in the way that we need them to pay taxes. I have to pay so many taxes, even though I don't pay into Social Security past $125,000 of my annual income, and we could fix Social Security tomorrow by simply, something like... Am I close?
That's a little scary.
Yeah.
What, that I did Reagan and Mitt Romney as Trump? It's not for a movie podcast, but my new thing is like, okay, what's going on with Trump today, and how is it like something we experienced from Bush? Because I'm old enough to remember the like outrage at Bush, and it's kind of mirrored now, and it's like, well, Bush killed a lot more people. I mean, Obama killed more people than Trump. We'll see. Trump still has time to run up them numbers, but if you value human life or whatever, where we just talking about that. So
I think we all do here. Right?
Yeah, I slow down in school zones too.
Wow, great callback.
It's interesting. It's interesting to bring up the, like how many deaths are you responsible for? Like what constitutes responsible for death?
If you start a war and millions of people die?
What about taking away funds for federal aid and someone dies because they lose their housing?
I agree.
What about those kinds of deaths?
Yeah, there was an argument during the COVID times that for every 1% increase in unemployment, that causes more people to die. So it gets so there's the direct death of like a war versus the indirect death of the financial decisions that are made. Arguably, the past several decades have led to, as we were talking about, less people having kids because less people can afford to have kids. It's not all just this one guy's fault. He's a symptom of the problem. I don't think he's the actual disease. I think the actual disease is something greater than that I'd like to determine and flip over that apple cart in a way that, hurts the least number of people. But inevitably, every decision is going to hurt some number of people. Thomas Sowell says everything is trade-offs. Famous black economist Thomas Sowell. Don't know that that's important, but I wanted to put it out. Neither of you know who I'm talking about.
No.
There you go. You can look it up, see if I'm right. Anyways, thank you.
I mean, like, I like that point too, that like right now what we're seeing is just like the two faces of a problem that's existed for so long and who have taken this problem and like gone like way deeper with it too. But they are the face of the issue, and it's a way deeper issue too. So I do like that point that you make too.
Thanks. Don't listen to me. I vote third party, but that's why I do like movies, is because you can have these multiple interpretations of them and then hold different opinions coming out of them, even though they're all propaganda. Some people don't like when I say that, but I think it's good for movies. My argument is that it's good for movies for people to come out with lots of interpretations. You talk in your interview segment that people will hear after this about wanting to grapple with difficult subject matter that you don't hear talked about as much. I totally agree with that, and there's nothing is taboo to me, basically, when it comes to talking about things, even though I was a little uncomfortable saying genocide earlier. But I just ran right through the R word, like,
I noticed that.
I didn't retard myself at all on saying the R word.
What's wrong with the genocide word? Why can't you say genocide?
I'm curious.
Why can't I say it?
Yeah, why you have trouble saying genocide, but you have trouble saying, the R word? Because I have trouble saying it.
Genocide or R word?
R word.
Oh, well, like, I don't actually believe when you say it you hurt anyone, whereas I'll make the counter argument. And I don't necessarily agree with this, but the argument I've heard from maybe like the ADL or something like that is that by saying that one group is committing a genocide, that justifies hatred towards this group, and therefore, it's like people feel okay flipping off Tesla drivers who bought that so that they could, stop hurting the environment. And some people might be rude to Jewish people in this country who have nothing to do with the policy of Israel over there. But anti-Semitism could be afforded some who want it to be afforded to them because the imbalance of power in Israel is...
That makes total sense. And that, to me, is where Zionism comes to play. Because Zionism is the real problem there. It's absolutely has nothing to do with being Jewish.
I'm okay with them having a state, just to be clear. Zionism to some people means that the Jews should be allowed a place to live. If it just means that, that's fine to me. If Zionism means you have to vaporize babies in Palestine, then no, I don't agree with it.
No, Zionism is more just like the complete radicalization of religion in general. It doesn't just apply to Judaism, it applies to any religion. Like, you can be a Christian Zionist, you can be a like whatever Zionist, but the word Zionism just means to like to basically take over like someone else's like area and just like it's like it's a front for colonialism, basically.
Oh yeah, the colonial. I think the more proper word is colonialism. Okay.
I think the term Zionism just connects it to a certain religious group, which really sucks that it's, you know, that people are assuming that all Jewish people want this to happen, because that's not fucking true at all. Yeah. It's pissing me off.
It emerged in the late 1800s with the goal of establishing a state for Jewish folks in Palestine, the ancestral home of Jewish people. So yeah, back in the late 1800s, because what we know as Israel today was established in 1947, but obviously this history goes back thousands of years.
Past the Ottoman Empire and whatnot, but yeah.
I've got my feet on an Ottoman right now. I constantly call it the Ottoman Empire, and I think I've heard my 3 or 5-year-old call it the Ottoman Empire, and that makes me very happy to screw up their knowledge that way. So I guess the reason I'm uncomfortable with it is because I know there are people who I could be working with in this industry or other industries, and that won't stick around to listen to me explain the nuance I see here. I'm fine with people having a state and not being killed, and they get $3 billion a year from our country to build an Iron Dome, and defensively, sure, do whatever you want. That's great, you know. But then I don't think it helps the cause of Zionism if you end up killing 100,000 people next to you when only 50,000 of them were in the terrorist organization that, you know. Here's the best argument at what I've heard. Anthony Blinken, on his way out from the last administration, he was our Secretary of State, brought up that Hamas was able to recruit as many people as they lost, if not more, in the past year plus of fighting. So I'm not going to fix this on a podcast about movies, but the movies made me think, yeah, there's a lot of nuance here. And so I'm glad I looked up the word. I'm glad you shared your opinion. I don't have a problem with you and your opinion, but I know other people do and could react very negatively to it. So
and I mean, like, I respect that as well. And like, that's the thing, like, literally last year I had a conversation with a friend of mine who had very different views than I did on this conflict, and we, you know, I invited her to sit down with me and have coffee and talk about it, and we absolutely did not come to an agreement, but we were able to talk openly about it and discuss and, you know, be mature adults about it, which I thought was still really awesome in its own way. And like, I think the initial thing, I think we both went into the conversation hoping to change the other's minds, but that's not possible on a one-time conversation. And so I think, you know, in a way we started kind of rocky, but I think I'm really happy that I had this conversation with this person, just because I want to have more conversations like that with people I don't agree with, because I really feel like that's one step closer to unity, is connection and just talking with people and being open and empathetic. You know, that's a big key word, just having empathy towards people. It's so important. And like,
oh, sorry.
I mean, I think that's the gray area we could operate in. That's like, if we come together and talk about it. Again, I'm kind of like the pessimist on the podcast. I don't think, I don't think, you know, the powerful are gonna, I don't know, what do the rich do? Stop golfing and, you know, take time to meet with me to talk about it. They're not gonna do that. They're too busy. I want more money. I gotta get a second yacht. I gotta get my spaceship out of space for whatever reason, and we're just gonna leave this planet behind. I mean, they're very selfish. As much as I would like to sit down, I don't think that's gonna work out.
There are a bunch of things I want to bait you there.
Yeah.
We've gone way over, not related to the, I would say arguably related to the topic.
I think it's absolutely related. I mean, these movies, that's what this is about. Like inspiring conversation about the nuances in all of these movies and in real life. And that's why I want to create movies, to inspire more of these conversations and have more of this connection. Because if we can come together as a people, like, we can make a change. We can make a difference, you know?
The reason I pointed at him when you said empathy was because he criticized me for being on another show and saying something to the effect of, Honora helped me build empathy for a group of, people that I'm not very familiar with, sex workers, or I might have said women. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you said women though. Do you specify?
I should have clarified and said sex workers. Excuse me. And he was like, "You have daughters. You shouldn't need to see Honora." And I was like, I misspoke, and I should have said sex workers specifically. Does that make it better?
Yeah, sure. But I would still have that debate that you shouldn't.
That wasn't a debate show.
Kirk says
No,
it is
I'm
now.
having a debate with you now.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're working this out now.
Do you want to work it out now, or do you want to wrap the show up? Yeah.
Ask the guest.
Would you like to keep going?
Well, how are you guys on time?
I mean,
Oh, we blew past it, but it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I mean,
this part's gonna get cut out so we don't see how the sausage is made.
That's fair. That's fair.
Just like an Okja. Ooh. I think that's-
I was able to change my opinion in this conversation from thinking I like Snowpiercer to thinking I like Okja more.
Ooh.
So one conversation can have a change, but maybe not thousands of year conflict, just, which of Bong Joon-ho's movies I feel strongly towards. And I'm really excited for Mickey 17 now after this conversation. So thank you for that, Gael.
Absolutely.
And you need to watch Parasite.
I do. You're so right.
Any closing thoughts, Gael?
I just want to thank you guys for having me on, and this was super fun. And this is the kind of juicy conversation that I love. So thank you.
Oh, good.
Thank you, yeah. Well, join us for our interview with Gael, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for listening. For more on JK Productions, find us on Instagram at JK Productions Team and on Facebook, JK Productions MN.